Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you with another episode of the Sons of Anarchy. Basically, I had a lot of fun doing the Season 1 episode, and what do you know? Within 2 days, I've already finished Season 2. I, right now, am really loving this show. I know that a lot of people have said that Season 3 is when the show hits a lot of breaks, but Season 1 was really good at sort of building the story about who these people are and sort of, getting them to mesh together to where you like these guys. Season 2 is honestly about breaking this team apart. Basically trying to get you to say, are you on Team Jax or are you on Team Clay? Which member of Sons of Anarchy is your favorite? Which side are you going to go on when this team splits? Because the family is just really falling apart at all the seams. Basically, it doesn't seem like at the end of Season 1 there's any sort of end to the story with the Aztecs. Basically, they just sort of go off on their own, but at the beginning of Season 2 is when a white supremacist, a group moves in. I don't know if they're Nazis or not like that, or something like that, but there's just one whacked out, really crazy dude, and he seems to be backed by this sort of businessman guy that moves in. He owns a cigar shop right in the middle of town and sort of is running this white supremacy group out of the back, where it seems like he's like to the the city of Charming. Basically, he's just this normal businessman, almost looks like a politician, I guess you could say. But then he's two-faced, where he's basically has a heroin pipeline that goes into the prisons. He's helping fund these people, start, supplying meth, and it's just he's sort of two-timing everybody behind everybody's back. He's just this really, really bad dude, I guess you can say. Basically, the biggest, opening of Season 1 is basically the white supremacists. They kidnap Gemma, who is Clay's wife. And they basically take her to this undisclosed location, this sort of the warehouse, where they tie her up and basically tell her that she needs to tell Clay that he needs to stop selling guns to the Niners. They don't want guns going into their heroin trade, which is going on up there, and from there, they proceed to rape her to try to send her the story, which is makes Gemma fall into this big depressing state all throughout the whole season, where basically she has to keep this inside because she knows that if Jax, her son, and Clay, her husband, find out about this rape, this war is going to get blown times 10. Basically, it's just going to get huge. Because of them sort of keeping this quiet, it's almost like Gemma and Tara are out sort of fighting this war on their own, where basically Tara is trying to help Gemma get over this and try to help her get, she gets her all treated up, but she's trying to get her mind right, I guess you can say. A few times she makes her appointments to go talk to a psychiatrist, which she doesn't do. And from there's a scene where basically she sees the girl who trapped her into getting raped. Where basically she was driving home and then a car pulled up behind her, ran up to her car and said, "My baby is choking. She can't breathe." So Gemma, who is the most part the nice person that she is, gets out of her car and goes back to check on the baby, which ends up being a doll, and she gets hit over the head with a flapjack, which knocks her out, and that's where they take her and they rape her. So she knows that this person's a part of it. So basically she's they almost set her up, I guess you could say, where they have a van in a parking lot and it looks like she's about to get in it, and then she runs down the street and she jumps in with the white supremacist leader, and they drive off. Basically Gemma says that this car has something to do with it, so they bring the car back to the shop. Once they're looking at the car to figure out what they're going to do with it, there's a bomb that almost explodes and it almost kills Chib. Basically he's the I guess you can say Irish guy with the big sort of scar that comes out of his mouth. That is like the goodbye for him, where he ends up being gone for a long part of the season. There's lots of streaks where your main not your main characters, Jax and Clay, will always be around, and Gemma will be there with Tara. But a lot of the sort of biker guys, they disappear for episodes at a time. We really don't see that much of the Prospect at all. There's a favor that gets called down from inside of prison, which seems to be one of the funnest things of the whole season, where basically Big Otto he's on the inside and he's locked up, but his wife Luann, who he helped get immunity from everything during the last season from the ATF. Basically, she's having some problems with her pornography business that she runs, where basically somebody who is a different kind of not an agent, but a different producer is basically trying to come down on top of her and trying to put her out of business. But basically, Jax basically says, we have this big warehouse that we just built because the last one burnt down. We can't stock it with guns because the ATF is on us, so why don't we rent out the place to Luann? Luann can film her pornos there, and we're in the porno business. They get 50%, and they have an income coming into the club, where basically from that sort of manifesto autobiography that his father wrote, was sort of saying to him from the grave, you need to reach out and find some way to legitimize this to basically you're a legitimate business instead of running guns, and it's just gonna lead to a bigger life. And so Jax is trying to get them to that point, while Clay won't get them out of the gun business. The producer ends up being played by Tom Arnold, which is very funny to see. He's not really in this show a whole lot. He just has a few scenes, maybe here or there along the way, and they're not really show stealing, but it's just that Tom Arnold is sort of that guy that you want to see get punched in the face. Probably it was the easiest way to see it, and so seeing him get beat up by the biker guys is pretty cool. He doesn't really take their he doesn't really take what they're saying that seriously. He always gives in once they get in his face. Twice they have the opportunity to kill him and they don't do it. And to pay back for this, he burns down the porn studio. At the same time, Clay is trying to get the porn studio shut down, basically to put Jax in his place, which is sort of dividing them at the table to the place where Jax thinks that Clay burnt down the porn studio on purpose to sort of get back at him and put them out of the porno business on their own because he couldn't pass the majority vote. With that, basically, Jax goes to the table and says he wants out of the Sons of Anarchy. He's going to go nomad, which basically says you're still a biker, but you don't have affiliation with anybody. He's just going to be on his own out there, unprotected, I guess you can say. He'd still be into doing dirty deeds, and he could still hang out with them, but he wouldn't be one of them, I guess you can say, which means that he would be unprotected against the Mayans. He would be unprotected against the Niners. He would be unprotected against the white supremacy guys and all of that. But basically, I didn't even bring up the part when they when they went to prison. That was one of the best parts of the whole show. Basically, there's a good string of episodes when actually the whole gang is in jail. Basically, what happens is they chase down and they try to get back at the businessman guy, where basically they find out where he's going to be and they chase him down, and they don't really do a whole lot of they don't get the information on where they're really going. They just want to get instant gratification of instant payback. They want to kill this guy. They run up on this guy, and it ends up being in the middle of a church dinner, which basically turns out to almost be a shootout. Jax stops Clay from shooting him because he notices that there's a camera there, but as soon as they try to make their getaway, everybody that was running out of the church sort of alerted the police, who were rolling by, and they arrest the Sons of Anarchy out there on the front steps of the church. They immediately are put into jail, which basically they can't get bonded out because it's going to cost too much. And then once they find out, they get into jail. Once they're on the yard, they instantly notice that they might be the baddest motherfuckers on the planet when they're on the street, but on the inside, they're way outnumbered. So basically, they have to sort of do some favors, and they go to one of the black gangs, which with the black gangs, they want to get at a guy who's sort of isolated to himself. They want to get ahead of him. So basically, they find out that he's into Puerto Rican guys. So basically, they set Juice up to basically get raped, voluntarily raped, I guess you can say. So basically, they go in to the doctor's office. The guy pays off the doctor. The doctor leaves, and basically, him and Juice sort of are about to get busy before Juice opens up the door, and the black gang comes in and they beat down the guy who was isolated. I think he was in witness protection is what they were saying he was in. And basically this is able to get them some freedom on the inside, where basically they won't get beaten down. Immediately after that, Juice is jumped out in the yard, where he is stabbed at least 5, maybe 6 times. So it puts him in the hospital, and he's going to be gone for a good little while. Once they're back onto the outside, basically it divides the group. It shows them when they get out of prison, they get home. All the guys go into the clubhouse to sort of, have a drink and release some stress, while Jax goes a different direction. So you can see that the gang is totally, completely split. Basically, after the vote for Jax to go nomad, which breaks them up, Gemma is telling Tara how bad this is going to be, or basically he's going to be living a life on the run for the rest of his life. He's never going to be able to settle down with his family, and he's not going to be able to be with Tara. He's not going to be able to be with Abel, and definitely not going to be around Gemma because Clay's there. Also in prison, they have a huge fisticuffs fight. Clay versus Jax, and everybody sort of breaks it up, saying they'll let them fight because they really need to get this done. On the outside, basically, once they're Gemma sits down Clay and Jax and basically says, they raped me. I've been keeping this secret because I didn't want to get this blown up, but it's the only thing, I can put on the table to keep you guys together. Jax, who had taken off his vice president and his Sons of Anarchy, tags off of his jacket, sort of picks him up quietly, sort of, showing us that he's not going to be leaving the group. And in the next episode, he basically comes together with the rest of the gang, as Clay has to come in front of everybody and tell him that basically Gemma was raped, and we need to get payback, and we need to get payback now. Basically, they challenged the white supremacy group to the 10-on-10 rumble, much like you would think out of The Outsiders, which was way awesome. That's honestly the highlight of the show, is you see the white supremacy group coming down the road to have this rumble, where they're waiting for them. It seems like on this sort of barnhouse sort of deal. You can see that at least 30 white supremacy guys get out of the car, which wouldn't be that bad. 30 on 10. The bikers probably get beat down, but they all brought automatic weapons, which basically says that it's not going to be a fair fight, and it looks like Sons of Anarchy are going to be meeting their dark day, where they're all killed out here. But basically, the Sons of Anarchy, they had a plan of their own, where basically they called in their own favors, where it looked like the Niners, they came out of the woods, and also a different one of the gangs all surrounded them. And it at least looked like, they had the 30-10 odds. It turned almost into 100 on 30, and there was no way in the world they were going to get out of there. So basically, they put their guns down and they rumbled anyways, where Sons of Anarchy just really kicked the shit out of the white supremacy guys, which was awesome. But they ended up somehow letting the main leader get away, where they finally were able to track him down inside of a tattoo parlor, where the whole thing was all set up. Where basically all of the Sons of Anarchy were wading into the bathroom, much like it was Bound for Glory 2013, using it as their own little clubhouse. And as soon as the guy came in, he ended up having his son, so all of the Sons of Anarchy guys had to put their guns down. But the guy knew that he had met his dark day. If they didn't get him now, he was going to get him later. He raped Jax's mom, and this was a war he was not going to win, so he's promptly sat on the toilet and took the shot right in the face, as he looked down and then just sort of looked right up at Jax and just said, "Do it, get it over with." And you saw him bleed out as they left there. From there, they would trap down the businessman inside of a mini mart as they were sort of making their way out of town. The Sons of Anarchy, during a mild shootout, were able to tell the Mayans to hit the bricks, that they didn't need to be protecting this guy, that they wanted this guy, and they were going to get him no matter what. Basically, when they were surrounding the mini mart, waiting for a school bus full of kids to leave, so they could go in and kill this guy, and they didn't want to do it in front of the kids. Basically, back at the house where Tara was, there was a mild shootout where basically the ATF agent ended up killing the Irish suspect, the son of the main guy that's been with the Sons of Anarchy for so long. From there, Gemma had come in and she killed the daughter of the businessman who they had been together. From there, the ATF agent snuck up on Tara, basically told Tara, sorry, not Tara, Gemma, told Gemma that she would be able to leave. The ATF agent tossed a gun to Gemma, basically telling her that she was going to be set up for the crime, but she needed to run, because that was the only way the ATF agent was going to be able to get away with her story. So Gemma is now living her life out there on the run. While they put the call out over the wire for all the police to hear that they needed backup at the house, because there had just been 2 killings that Gemma had done. A guy with the police scanner, the main Irishman, hears this, so he goes to Jax's house, where Tara calls Jax to tell him to come help. But it's been too late. The Irish guy stabs the prospect, killing him in the middle of the kitchen. Tara is tied up in the nursery, where the guy comes and kidnaps Jack's son, Abel, which was funny because he wasn't in the season that much, which basically was setting up to the fact that they were going to kidnap him at the end. Then this guy goes out and lives life on the run. You could tell that Jax desperately wants payback. He calls Clay, tells him that he needs him and he needs him now, which leads the Irish, well, not the Irish, the rich businessman with the white supremacy group that was the leader. It lets him have a clean getaway because they don't have time to go in and kill him. I don't know why Clay couldn't have just walked to the door, basically shot the guy and then left to go find out what was going on with Abel. But that's how they leave you on season 2. And I'm hooked. I really like the show. I really love it. I wish that we would get to see more of the gang. There wasn't a whole lot more of the Opie story other than, Opie falls in love with a porn star who's taking care of his kids and is sort of trying to have a family, but at the same time, Opie doesn't like being around his kids that much. He loved them before the death of his wife, but now I don't know if he just feels guilty or for him being involved in the gang is what led to the mom dying, or maybe he just can't face the kids because they remind him too much of his wife. But basically now this porn star is basically taking care of them and he's falling in love with them. By the end of the 2nd season, you see them sort of all on the couch watching a movie together, which sort of says the family is coming back together. There's that at one point where Trig, so built up with grief, tells Opie that he's the one who killed Donna, because basically that's what all the information was pointing at, that Opie was a rat. They had put money into his account. They had sort of taken him out and made it look like they were in protective custody. They had sort of really set the evidence that he was a bad guy. Tig was able to get this out on the open, so it will no longer be a club secret. Opie looked like he wanted to kill him, but at the last second he sort of backed it off and broke it all out. So I'm really looking forward to season 3. Honestly, I've already watched the first episode before I made this video, so it looks like it really starts off good, and I hope that I continue liking this show. But peace out, everybody. Thank you for watching the videos.